Paran has lived his entire life in this damn underground bunker. His every day begins with brutal training. He does hundreds of push-ups with incredible weight on his back, and when he finally collapses from exhaustion, his father shows no mercy. He beats him for being too weak. In fact, his father beats him for any reason, and for no reason at all. And so it goes, day after day. That's why Paran has only one dream: to leave this bunker and see the outside world. The only thing he has is an old family photo, which gives him the confidence that his mother loves him. But his father, who locked him in this bunker, doesn't think so. He constantly repeats that she is dead, but our MC refuses to believe him, because he's such a bastard. He locked Paran here and repeats every day that he will never leave this place, because soon there will be an apocalypse outside where everyone will meet their end. The only thing that brightens Paran's days are books about the outside world, the world he so desperately wants to see with his own eyes, to finally find his mother and new friends. But reality is cruel, and all he sees now is his father's boot, which quickly brings him back to the harsh present. To get out, Paran must get the keys to the bunker, the ones his father always carries with him, and so, during one of the training sessions, he decides to take his shot. Paran's father turns back to leave, saying that's all for today. Our boy finds it an opportunity and grabs a piece of mirror to attack. He rushes forward and claims it's the moment he was waiting for. He'll kill his father and escape the bunker. He jumps, intending to kill, but it appears that he has made a fatal mistake. He failed to realize that his father would never let his guard down. Paran's father creeps toward him and he leaps forward to attack, but his fist hits only air as his dad swerves away. His father kicks him hard. Blood spills from the protagonist's mouth as his vision fades to black. In D1, our boy cries out, waking up in his dark cell. His dad enters, praises his effort, and reminds him of the rule: no weapons, only bare hands. Because he broke the rule, his father says he'll have double training tomorrow. He locks the cell and tells him to sleep. When the power cuts out and everything grows quiet, Paran listens carefully. He realizes two things. When his dad says it's bedtime, it's actually morning above, and the world outside is still normal. The whole apocalypse story is a lie his father uses to keep him trapped. The protagonist swears he'll escape. He looks at a family photo and decides to find his mother, even though his father insists she's dead. Now he's certain that's a lie too. She must be alive. Our boy promises himself he'll see her again. Somewhere else, his father answers a phone call, telling the caller not to contact him unless it's a true emergency. After listening for a moment, he ends the call with a cold wish for survival. Back in the cell, Paran is asleep, tied with rope and yelling to be freed. When his dad ignores him, he struggles against the ropes, whispering to himself as he feels them start to give. Just as he's about to break loose, his father rushes in and orders him to stop. The protagonist tries to mention the double training, but his dad interrupts, saying plans have changed. There will be no more training, only confinement. Our boy asks how he's supposed to prepare for the apocalypse while tied up, but his dad tells him to forget it. Thinking of his mother, Paran knows he'll never find her if he stays trapped. He fights harder, eventually snapping the ropes. His father demands to know what he's doing, but the protagonist keeps tearing at the restraints, even as his father's laughter echoes through the room. Suddenly his dad strikes him, sending him flying. The man warns him not to move, but our boy swings back, refusing to obey or give up, no matter the cost. When he finally breaks free, the protagonist is determined to see his father lose for once. He notices a flicker of something else beneath his dad's anger, maybe sadness. Paran wonders why his father looks at him that way. Then his dad punches him, and his vision goes black. Paran's dad stands by the chalkboard while the protagonist sits nearby, listening as the man insists that rule number 1 for survival is absolutely essential. He continually emphasizes how safe the bunker is, explaining it's been sealed for 126 years, fully stocked with food, and that leaving is basically a death sentence. Convinced the apocalypse could strike at any moment, his father believes the bunker is the only safe place left. When our boy is alone, he quietly mutters never to himself, clearly disturbed by his father's constant warnings. He recalls the unsettling moment when he woke up after being knocked out and realized his dad was gone, something that had never happened before. Just yesterday, his father's behavior grew even stranger, disrupting their usual routine, and now Paran can't shake the feeling that something big is about to happen. He's certain he's right. Suddenly, the metal doors begin to rattle and clang. On edge, the protagonist looks around, whispering in confusion as the echoes fill the bunker, almost as if they're drawing him closer. When he spots a door left wide open, he bolts for it, realizing this is the opportunity he's been waiting for. Sprinting through empty corridors, Paran no longer fears being stopped by his dad. He rushes past rattling gates, unimpeded, and skids to a stop at the ladder. Excitement surges as our boy climbs quickly, his hands clanging against the rungs. Nearly praying for sunlight, he pushes at the hatch, and when it finally opens, a wave of light forces him to squeeze his eyes shut. The protagonist steps outside slowly, feet touching the ground above, and is awestruck to see the sun for the first time. As someone approaches, he whispers in disbelief that he's actually made it out. A man shouts, asking why he's in the road, and Paran, shocked, blurts out that it's a real person. Panic sets in. This isn't the time to get caught. If his dad discovers he's gone, he'll come after him. Determined, our boy runs, desperate to get as far from the bunker as possible. Barefoot, he races through the city, exhilarated by the freedom he's only dreamed of. The memory of being trapped in the bunker drives him to move even faster. He wonders how the doors open so easily. Was it a glitch? No, his father is too careful for that. The thought that maybe his dad let him out on purpose crosses his mind, but he can't believe it. His father would never break his own rule, never leave the bunker. Laughter nearby catches his attention. He sees strangers gathered, children playing, and people talking as if nothing is wrong. It dawns on him that the outside world is peaceful, entirely unlike his father's warnings. Everything his dad said now feels like a lie. Here, people just live their lives. Looking up at the sky, the protagonist convinces himself the apocalypse can't be real. Just then, laughter turns to unease as his father's warning returns. The apocalypse will come without warning. People begin to look upward, unaware of what's coming. A massive dark sphere appears behind the sun, resembling a burning planet. The crowd stares, confused, as Paran's eyes widen. The object engulfs the sky. Dark swirls ripple across its surface, with sinister tendrils unfurling, almost as if it's alive and growing. The sphere rumbles, panic erupts, and people start pointing as it descends. Some assume it's the moon, others shout questions, but our boy alone sees its true nature. He can see the creatures. Suddenly, golden light bursts forth, revealing a grotesque maw filled with jagged teeth. The protagonist stands frozen as monsters emerge from the darkness, masses of limbs and angry eyes descending toward Earth. The swarm spirals, tearing across the sky. Now the vortex looms over the city, and all he can hear is his father's voice. Never leave the bunker. That rule was meant to keep them safe, unless the monsters find the bunker by accident. As tendrils break through the streets, his dad's warning echoes, and Paran remembers the chalkboard. Rule 1-1 is crossed out. The system flashes. Remote command. All locks open. Monsters roar and flood the streets as people freeze in terror. The swarm blocks out the sun, with creatures piling atop one another. On the ground, chaos erupts as the crowd flees in panic. Suddenly, silence breaks. Tendrils lash out, grabbing a man whose screams echo as he's dragged away, his glasses shattering, and his body torn apart. His head rolls across the pavement as people panic, shoving and screaming. Amid the chaos, someone desperately asks what the thing is, while another yells for everyone to run. People trample each other trying to escape. In the middle of it all, a man wearing headphones walks forward, seemingly oblivious to the chaos. The boy with headphones pauses, noticing movement above just as a monstrous mass crashes down, shaking the street. A hulking beast, crackling with energy, rises, each step sending shockwaves. Another winged creature lands with a thunderous boom, spinning as more monsters close in, crushing anyone who falls. People scream for help, someone begs for the police, but another shouts that the phones are already out. Panic is everywhere as the protagonist stands amid the destruction, his father's grim warning echoing. When the apocalypse comes, the world drowns in blood, screams, and ashes. Bodies are strewn across the ruined plaza as our boy stares in shock, a giant dark vortex looming over the city. A timestamp flashes D1. People scream as the devastation continues. D1 becomes D0. The apocalypse isn't approaching, it's already here. The ground splits open, buildings collapse, and monsters flood the streets. The final words make it clear, the apocalypse was already underway. A spiral of monsters towers over the city as Paran lands on the road. He realizes his dad was right about the apocalypse. It's real. Lifting his head, the protagonist understands that if the warning was true, then losing his mom must be true as well. He clenches his teeth, accepting that she's gone. Explosions erupt, footsteps thunder, and crowds scatter in panic. The swarm of monsters charges down the streets, roaring and sending people fleeing. As the creatures approach, someone grabs Paran's arm and pulls him away. His dad drags him through the chaos while monsters tear through the crowd. The man shouts not to stop as survivors dash for safety. One man is pulled down and devoured, but our boy keeps running, rounding a corner with the horde close behind. His father warns of more monsters ahead, pulls him along, and they leap over a barrier. The street is packed with people trying to escape. Cries for help fill the air as tendrils drag people into monsters' mouths. They try to move faster, but the tendrils close in, consuming more as the swarm advances. They reach a bridge, where people trip and scream with monsters crashing behind. The creatures tear through everything, seizing one man and dragging him away while Paran shouts they're about to be caught. His father yells that there's no time. They must run. The bridge is the only escape. The crowd surges forward as monsters flood onto the bridge. The protagonist shouts a warning, but his dad doesn't answer. A monster lunges, wrapping its limbs around our boy's leg. He struggles as the tendrils tighten, but his father smashes them off with a stone. The creature screeches and retreats, but Paran is now injured, clutching his leg as the horde draws nearer. He pushes himself forward, stumbling, determined to escape. Squeezing between abandoned cars, the protagonist feels the monsters gaining ground. He falls, sliding across the pavement, muttering under his breath. He urges his dad to go ahead, admitting he can't run any farther. Looking up, he tells his father to escape. Memories flood back, being trapped, shouting about being ignored. He drops his head, but his father approaches, insisting he must get up. Our boy protests, asking why he should keep running, convinced there's no way out. His dad insists he knows Paran can make it. Shaking his head, the protagonist hesitates, but his father grabs his hand and pulls him to his feet. He tells him to run. Paran protests, wanting to know the plan, but his dad presses something into his hand and urges him to go. There's no time. He has to leave the bridge. The boy nods and limps away, weaving through the cars. Looking back, he sees the bridge shuddering, cables snapping, and the whole structure collapsing into the chasm, swallowed by dust and debris. He stops at the edge, whispering and calling out for his father. The protagonist stands there, staring at the wrecked city, unable to find the words to process what just happened. Looking down at his pendant, a memory surfaces. His dad once told him he could survive, that he knew how. Now, Paran wonders if this was all part of the plan from the beginning. He quietly asks himself why, questioning the timing and realizing he's actually made it this far. Uncertain about what to do next, our boy remembers dreaming of sunlight and freedom while trapped in the bunker. But now, as light flares in his hand, he feels emptier than ever. A memory of his mother's face flashes through his mind as he whispers why again, desperate for answers from his dad about why things had to go this far. He asks what his next move should be, shouting at the chaos around him. Suddenly, he recalls being handed something, a piece of paper. Clutching it tightly, Paran stares at the ground just as it begins to shake and a massive monster lands nearby. He bolts as the creature roars, but it's right behind him. His leg hits some debris and he nearly falls, but the protagonist grabs a broken pole and jumps. The creature slams down, sending both of them sprawling. Struggling to stand, our boy grips his injured leg and faces the beast, muttering that this is the end and thinking there's nothing left for him. A drop of water lands on his skin. He notices the crumpled note in his fist. Your mom is alive. He screams, demanding to know why he's only learning this now. As the monster's footsteps shake the earth, Paran forces himself to get up, determined to live and not give up. Shouting that he's going to find his mother, he squares off against the monster. Suddenly, his dad's voice echoes in his mind, reminding him that humans can't survive the apocalypse without strength or intelligence. Luck alone isn't enough. The protagonist questions how he's supposed to survive now as the ground shakes harder and the beast charges. He yells, but his father's voice interrupts, asking if he's forgotten everything he was taught. As the monster attacks, our boy dodges and ends up at its side. Spotting a weapon ahead, he grabs its arm and pulls himself up. He pivots, glaring at the charging creature, preparing to strike. Sliding under its claws, Paran snatches the weapon and dashes forward, swinging with determination, telling himself he's going to survive. The city lies in ruins. Monsters roam freely. One descends a tower while another moves through the rubble. Streets and buildings are broken and eerily quiet. When night falls, survivors shelter in the debris. One man wipes his face and grumbles that it's been 4 days. Another, frustrated, complains about the missing police and wonders what they're doing. A girl remarks that their hideout is fortunate but admits the food is gone. No one knows where to go next. Before she can continue, a man interrupts, asking her to stop because she's making everyone uncomfortable. Confused, the girl insists she isn't speaking loudly. The protagonist glances at the body behind her and clarifies that's not what he meant. Muttering about losing his mind, he's approached by a young girl who asks if he's checked everywhere. He replies that he has, but there's nothing left, and they'll need something if they want to survive. She recalls a place they haven't tried and decides to check it herself. As she heads out, our boy thanks her, admitting she's the only one who helps. She dismisses the compliment and disappears into the rubble. She finds 2 men and asks if they've seen any food. Instead, they begin eating from a hidden stash. She reminds them they were supposed to share, but one shrugs, claiming there was never an agreement. She points out they ate from the shared supply yesterday, but they feign ignorance. When she threatens to report them, they block her path and warn her not to try. She stands her ground. The bald man laughs, saying she can't escape, but reluctantly steps aside. Suddenly, a scream echoes nearby. Both men freeze. One asks if it was someone screaming, while the other, trying to stay calm, says it sounded distant and insists they'll be fine. Then he notices something ahead. The girl crouches, and the bald man mocks her for pretending to be tough. After a moment, she turns and makes her way back through the rubble. The same man from earlier spots her and, relieved, asks if she searched the area. She nods. When he asks if she found anything, she hides a piece of bread under her jacket and claims there was nothing. He believes her. Suddenly, a loud crash sends dust flying, and a one-eyed monster appears. Surrounded by debris, the man freezes as the monster approaches. In a panic, he reaches for help, but the girl sprints past him, apologizing as his screams are drowned out by the creature. Out on the street, panic spreads as the monster arrives. Someone yells not to look back. Another curses as more creatures emerge, and a red-haired man suggests they'll get away once someone else is caught. The little girl runs straight at the monster, dodging its attacks without hesitation. She twists, rolls across its arms, and lands as dust swirls around her, leaving 2 nearby men stunned. Without missing a beat, she flips upright and keeps running. The bald man watches her go, realizing she's faster than anyone. All around, chaos erupts as people scream and flee. She navigates the ruined streets, climbs to higher ground, and pauses to catch her breath. Looking back, she sees Paran sitting with his eyes closed. She nudges him, discovering he's alive but unconscious. Suddenly, a creature creeps up, hissing. She presses against the wall, trying to hide as it draws near, growling. The little girl grabs the protagonist to help him up. The monster looms over them, and now it's just the 2 of them facing the threat. The rubble settles, and a little girl tries to catch her breath. She turns around to find Paran lying on her lap. He starts shaking, anxious to know who she is and what she's doing. She stammers, while the protagonist silently vows never to drop his guard again. She tries to explain that she only covered him to keep the monsters from seeing him, but her words are drowned out by his father's warnings about people who only use others and toss them aside. Our boy reminds himself not to trust anyone, even as his stomach growls, since he hasn't eaten since leaving the bunker. Weak and barely able to stand, he asks about food. She claims she doesn't have any, but a piece of bread slips out of her pocket, catching his attention. She tries to dismiss it, but Paran calls her a liar and considers taking it. In the end, she tears the bread in half and gives him a piece. He hesitates, unsure why she would share, and she tells him he now owes her 5 times as much food in return. He agrees. After eating, the protagonist gets up to leave, but she chases after him, warning that monsters are still nearby. He stops when he realizes she knows the area well, and she admits she's lived there her whole life. Our boy studies her, weighing whether to trust her, but she insists she knows the place. He asks if she can lead him to the subway station. She sighs, agrees to show him, but regrets giving up her bread. Curious, she asks why he's so determined to reach the subway. Paran explains it's safe, there's food, possible escape routes, and most importantly, it's underground, making it harder for monsters to find people. Soon she stops and tells him they've arrived. He's doubtful, but she assures him it's the entrance. An older man appears, confirming it's the right place and inviting them to follow him. He leads them down hidden stairs into the subway, which is crowded with survivors. The old man recalls the monster's earlier attack, forcing everyone to take refuge, and notes how the protagonist found the place by chance. He explains that people only go above ground for medicine, and these 2 are the first newcomers in a while. Paran surveys the crowd, worried that more people might mean more trouble, but he senses that everyone here seems trustworthy. He finally relaxes. The old man introduces himself as Baeom Hwang, a doctor, and explains he met them while searching for medicine. He asks for their names, and the girl steps forward, introducing herself as Haru, a student at Gasang Middle School. Baeom recognizes her uniform and mentions his hospital was across the street, but Haru looks puzzled and insists there was never a hospital there. Noticing our boy's rough state, Baeom asks for his name. The protagonist hesitates, thinking of his journal, and admits he doesn't have one. Beom nods, telling him to share it when he's ready. Suddenly, a red-haired kid rushes in, reporting that someone's condition has worsened, and Beom hurries over. Although he'd already tried to treat the wound, it has deteriorated, and now requires emergency surgery. Beom prepares his tools, while Paran recalls stories about dishonest doctors who only help for payment and wonders what Beom's motives are, as others question if money even matters anymore. Beom remains composed, insisting that surgery is his job and that he never loses a patient. He begins the operation, reassuring everyone that things will be fine. When the procedure ends, the patient hugs Beom in gratitude, yet our boy continues to watch, unsure whether to trust him. As Beom tells the patient to rest, a badge falls out, revealing that Beom Huang is actually a veterinarian. He readies his tools and warns that the next part will be painful. When the patient panics and begs to be untied, Beom refuses, explaining that any movement could be fatal. The patient protests about Beom's veterinary background, but Beom insists that humans are animals too, so the treatment applies. The patient keeps struggling, and Beom suggests anesthesia, but the red-haired girl explains it's impossible to find right now. Beom pulls out a brick, mutters that it will have to suffice, and knocks the patient out while Haru and the protagonist stand in silence. Perrin holds a photo from his dad and a note suggesting his mom might still be alive. Though he feels hopeless about finding her, the picture catches his attention. The flowers in the background are unfamiliar. He has never seen anything like them. After studying them, the protagonist suspects these flowers might only grow in certain places. If that's the case, the photo could be a clue to his mother's location. He decides he needs the help of someone who knows about plants. Meanwhile, a group gathers in a bunker. A subordinate announces everyone has arrived, and the captain declares that something new is about to begin. He warns that any resistance will be crushed if necessary. When a man demands answers, the captain simply glares at him. He claims he can see into people, their secrets and fears, just by looking into their eyes. Noticing fear in the angry man, the captain singles him out. The man pleads for space, but the captain punches him, saying that fear always surfaces around him. The captain says this is what he likes to see and demands more. He orders the man to show his real self, but the man begs him to stop. A subordinate interrupts to report that an old man, a girl, a boy, and an injured man are missing. The captain decides to deal with it himself, then orders the angry man to be tied up and left outside, ignoring his protests. Exhausted from days of vigilance against monsters, our boy dreams of being dragged deeper and wakes abruptly to find strangers surrounding him, demanding to know who he is. A blonde-haired man gives him 2 minutes to prove himself or be forced out, mocking him and saying that running won't help. As Paran stands, the captain reconsiders his earlier judgment about the protagonist's curiosity. The blonde man asks how he plans to fight them off, but he turns the question back on him. The captain grins, urging our boy to reveal what's behind his eyes. The blonde man tells him he should have run, but Paran says he only needs 2 seconds to take him down. The blonde man then pulls a blade as the protagonist looks for his missing photo. The man taunts him with the picture, saying he found nothing else of value. Our boy threatens to kill him if the photo is damaged. The captain seizes it and threatens to tear it up while Paran is beaten and questioned about why a piece of paper matters so much. The captain announces the protagonist isn't being expelled. He saw something different in his eyes, a deeper darkness, so he instructs the man to watch over him and to never let the picture out of sight. The man admits Paran unsettles him, but holding the photo seems to keep our boy powerless. Haru checks if the protagonist is okay, but he lashes out, pushing her away. She asks why he's taking it out on her, saying she only wanted to help. He insists he doesn't need help and tells her to back off. She shouts her name, Haru, telling him to remember it, but he dismisses her. Beom asks Haru what's wrong. She says Paran is impossible, and Beom agrees something is off. Our boy remembers his dad's warning to never trust help. Watching the man with his photo, he considers snatching it back but decides against risking the only thing he has left from the bunker. He waits for a better chance. The captain gathers everyone and gives them 2 options: follow him or be thrown out, using the tied-up man as an example of what happens to those who refuse. He explains the captive tried to cause trouble and is being expelled, warning that his word is law. For most, siding with him seems like the only way to survive. Beom, however, says he's too old to comply. If he follows the captain, he'll let his patients down, so he chooses to remain independent. The captain pressures Haru to decide, but she points out she isn't the only one refusing. Paran, Haru, Beom, and a few others stand together, openly defying the captain. A red-haired girl jolts awake, grumpy and shouting about why no one bothered to wake her up. She curses, insisting she never wanted to be here anyway. As panic sets in, she claims everyone is doomed, targeted, and about to be tortured. Meanwhile, a calmer person shrugs off her worries, unconvinced things will get that bad. The red-haired girl glances over uncertainly, wondering if that could be true. The calm one just grins and jokes that maybe they'll starve or be thrown to monsters instead. Her face goes pale. She thinks he's lost it, but sudden loud noises outside interrupt the tension. A girl rushes out, only to be scolded by a man who apologizes to Beom for not keeping an eye on things. Beom drops to one knee and tells the girl to listen to her dad, but she mutters under her breath before stomping off, yelling that he's not her father. She insists her real dad is still out there searching for her with her mom. The man clarifies that he isn't her father, just someone she met while running away. He explains that after she got separated from her parents, he decided to look after her until they could reunite. When another boy steps in, a man lays down the rules. No one is allowed out of the room by order of the captain, and anyone who disobeys will be punished, regardless of who they are. Someone else adds that being a kid won't get him any leniency. Meanwhile, the boy looks around, trying to spot the man who took the photo. Elsewhere, it's mealtime. Guards hand out food, stating it's strictly 1 meal per person. The red-haired girl protests, complaining that their portions are much smaller than everyone else's. The guard repeats that it's the captain's order and insists they don't need much since they're stuck inside. The girl's hands shake with anger, and someone nearby tenses, sensing trouble. Simeon mentions he hasn't seen Chicken Comb. Whispers spread. Everyone knows Chicken Comb is the captain's right-hand man, notorious for breaking rules, wandering where he pleases, and frightening people with his strength. He's the type who smiles while beating someone up. Chicken Comb strolls by just as the little girl trips and spills her food on his vest. He gives her a dark grin, warns that annoying him leads to regret, and tells her to come with him. People whisper, convinced he's capable of hurting a child without hesitation. The girl trembles as he growls that running around is dangerous and orders her to follow, but it's clear he's heading for the group. Someone calls out in surprise. Chicken Comb turns to the guard and asks for a favor, give the girl another meal. The guard hesitates, reminding him about the 1 meal rule, but Chicken Comb towers over him and demands the guard's own meal. He hands it to the girl. The guard is confused, suspecting Chicken Comb has something cruel in mind, perhaps planning to force feed her as punishment. Suddenly, the man looking after the girl bursts in, grabs her hand and demands everyone back off. He insists on knowing what's happening. Chicken Comb seems puzzled, asking what he did wrong, but the man just calls them all thugs and leaves with the girl. Chicken Comb pauses, then grins as they walk away. 2 girls notice there are more guards around now, and the boy mutters under his breath, debating whether to confront the blonde man himself. The blonde girl turns away in silence. Later, the girls sit quietly together. One shifts, noticing the boy alone in the dark. She approaches, but he grabs her wrist, eyes fierce, and accuses her of trying to set him up. She protests, saying she only wanted to talk. He repeats her words, suspicious, and asks if he just hates talking. She wants to know why he cares. He tells her to get to the point. She asks why he always sits alone, wondering if he's just shy. He snaps that all humans are his enemies, so there's no point in getting close to anyone. She insists she meant no harm, but he remains unconvinced. She sighs, telling him to think what he wants, but urges him to make up with Haru. He says he and Haru never fought and labels her just like everyone else, still human. The girl explains that Haru cries herself to sleep every night and seems burdened by something. She thinks a friend her age might help, but the boy dismisses it as pathetic. He argues that sadness is weakness, and survival should be the priority. She hesitates, then asks if he's ever lost someone he loved. He says no, claiming it will never happen. He has no one to lose and nothing to be sad about. She suggests that sounds lonely, but he insists he's fine. She tells him that if he ever dies, she will feel sad for him. He rolls his eyes, calling it ridiculous, and promises he won't be sad if she dies. She laughs, coughs, apologizes for talking too long, wishes him goodnight, and leaves. Nearby, the red-haired girl wakes up again, groaning about never being able to get any sleep. Perrin heads into this underground shelter, and there's this blonde guy who steals his picture. It's basically the only thing that could help him find his mom. Suddenly, gunshots ring out, and the thief starts messing with our boy, saying it's punishment for trying to escape. But Perrin just stares back, totally unafraid, telling him to drop the photo and just fight instead. The blonde one starts shaking, realizing the only thing our protagonist cares about is that picture, not even his own safety. He rants about how Perrin probably needs another beating, clutching the photo like it's gold. Our boy thinks about his dad's old line that people are all born bad, but he also remembers little moments of kindness he's seen. Then the girl from earlier rushes in, looking shocked, while Biom checks him over, insisting he has to clean up his wounds. Perrin's not into getting patched up, but he takes some food that she saved for him. Just as he's about to thank her, she starts coughing really hard. Biom says she needs medicine, but they're all out. He warns things will get even worse without it, but she stubbornly refuses to let anyone risk themselves for her, even as the coughs rack her. Our protagonist gets anxious and asks what happens if there's no medicine. Biom doesn't answer right away, but before he can, thugs show up. Meanwhile, the one with the photo is grumbling about the captain wanting him to show it off, wishing he could just kill Perrin and be done with it. Then Biom gets ordered to help some outsiders right away. He refuses, saying he's got someone critical to take care of, and the thug starts questioning whose side he's on. The girl, weak as she is, says she'll go upstairs for medicine herself, but Biom won't let her, warning she wouldn't make it. He steps up and says he'll go with her, but then the thug just stabs her, making some twisted joke about how easy it could have been to help. Everyone's in shock as she crumples, blood spreading across the floor. Perrin feels her life slipping away, and then some weird energy starts glowing from her wound, knocking him back. He can't help thinking how fragile people are as he sees that glow pulsing and her life fading. Her hands shake as she reaches for him, and she manages to whisper, reminding him of the time he said he wouldn't care if she died. Then her hand just drops, completely still. The thug wipes his knife clean while Biom yells at him, calling him a monster for killing without blinking. The killer just shrugs it off, claiming he saved Biom by keeping him from being forced above ground. He adds that they can't lose a doctor just because of one dying woman. Perrin just stands there as the thug taunts him, asking if he's scared now. Our boy stays quiet but looks up. The thug waves his bloody knife, and that's when he notices he doesn't have the photo anymore. Perrin spots it on the ground, must have dropped it when he pulled his blade. Dropping to his knees, the kid stares at the picture while the thug keeps poking at him, wanting to know what it means. Perrin steps closer, and the thug smirks, asking if he's finally going to fight. Then, out of nowhere, our protagonist lunges and hits him straight on, catching the soldier completely off guard. The thug tries to act tough, asking if Paran is going to beat him up. Before he can even react, he's hit with a sudden punch, and the knife flies across the room. Our boy moves quickly, dashing forward and knocking him to the ground. The thug struggles to get up, but Paran slams him back down. Groaning and unsteady, the man is grabbed by the shirt while the blade spins through the air. With perfect timing, our protagonist catches it, spins, and throws it across the room. The knife sticks into the thug's neck and everyone freezes. He shakes and hisses in pain while Paran stands silently, watching. He remembers how easily he ambushed his opponent, realizing the man couldn't even respond. Frustrated, he curses under his breath, wishing he'd just taken the photo from the start. Muttering, he admits things would have turned out differently if he'd acted sooner. His heart races, dark energy swirling around him. Lifting the blade again, he prepares to attack, when a voice interrupts. Someone warns there's no going back after killing. Biam approaches, worry written on his face. Paran hesitates, repeating the warning to himself. Angry, he questions why anyone would care about the thug. Biam says he's actually worried about him. His fist trembles as the older man asks if killing is really necessary. Silent and conflicted, Paran looks down and admits there's no need. He thinks of his father, recalling how just crippling someone is enough to inspire fear, but then hears that mocking voice, accusing him of being too weak. He laughs bitterly, accusing Paran of being afraid to kill. Steadying himself, our protagonist decides he will never become like these people. Even if the world ends, he wants to survive without needless killing. He drops the knife, and Biam's face lights up with relief. Turning away, Paran insists it's not because of Biam, but because he refuses to sink to that level. He admits there's no real reason to kill, thinking of his missing mother. Whether she's alive or not, he realizes she wouldn't have wanted this. He steels himself and steps back. Sensing an opportunity, the thug charges, thinking he has a chance now that the blade is gone. Paran reacts instantly, spinning and striking with a quick series of blows, knocking him down. As he stands over the beaten man, another survivor picks up the photo. Paran sharply asks what he's doing. The man mutters that it must be important, then awkwardly wipes it off and tells him to keep it safe. More people gather around a covered body. Biam notices Haru and the little girl are missing. The babysitter recalls they went to the bathroom and says it's lucky they didn't see the chaos. One survivor points out that Paran held back when he could have finished the fight, but our boy shrugs and says something of his was taken hostage. The man scoffs, calling it scrap paper, but Paran's glare hardens as he insists it matters. The room falls silent as he raises a question. Holding up the photo, he explains he wants to know where the flower in the picture grows. People look at it but admit they've never seen it before. The red-haired girl asks if he knows where the photo was taken, and he says that's why he's asking. The babysitter comments it'd be easier if the internet still worked, but now all they have is that single clue. Biam asks why it matters, and Paran bluntly says he plans to go there. Whispers ripple with worry, and Biam warns it's impossible to survive above ground with monsters around, but our protagonist is determined. He'll survive and find his mom. In the shadows, the captain mutters that since orders were ignored, things will only get worse. Suddenly, a beast crashes down, sending rubble flying. The scene shifts to an empty subway entrance marked with Zone B and exit signs, standing abandoned. Someone finally cheers because there's enough heat to cook real food. One guy tells another to fan the fire, but he just shrugs, saying he's busy. Footsteps echo as the little girl bursts in, annoyed, demanding to know why no one flushes. Haru explains the toilets don't work anymore. A man arrives, impatient that they're taking so long, and says he needs to send them back. Harry watches him fidget, just wanting to survive like everyone else. By the fire, two men are cooking. One makes a sly comment about the earlier argument and sneakily drops something into the pot. The other notices and questions him, but is told to just keep stirring. He's unsure if he really saw anything. Suddenly, the pot explodes with a violent splash, startling both of them. Rocks crash down as the ceiling splits open and a massive tree-like creature bursts through. Its huge mouth looms over the men, leaving them frozen in fear. The captain spots the blonde thug's body on the floor. He mutters to himself, thinking he was right. There are people like this everywhere. Memories rush back, reflections of how some are just monsters in disguise, and now real monsters walk among them. Behind him, strange creatures begin to swarm in. Someone yells for him to be careful, warning that the boy is stronger than they thought. The captain ignores it and gets knocked back. Paran stands his ground, eyes sharp. The leader gets up, calls everyone else weak, and locks eyes with our boy. He says he doesn't need advice from weaklings. What he wants is Paran. He tells him to wipe off that smug look and promises to show who's in charge. Charging forward, he wonders if he'll finally see what's inside this kid. They stare at each other, tension rising, but darkness begins to close in. Within it, something moves. The captain's eyes widen as he realizes it isn't him looking into Paran, but Paran looking into him. The darkness twists, teeth snap shut, and suddenly he understands. He's the one being watched. Panicked, the captain collapses, flailing and shouting. His crew rushes over, calling his name, but he's unresponsive. Our protagonist stands there, eyes glowing, while silence grips the room. The captain gulps, realizing he almost got consumed. Everyone trembles and someone whispers that he actually looks scared. Suddenly a man screams, grabbing his face and begging for help. Blood pours down as he thrashes, shouting that he can't see. Horrified, people murmur as the man stumbles, covered in blood, insisting he was just asleep. He says his head is pounding, something spreading inside. Grabbing his skull, he stumbles down the hall, muttering about the pain while everyone watches, terrified, and wondering if he's turning into a monster. He claws at his head until something bursts out. He screams as black tendrils rip free, twisting his body. His glasses crack, his head jerks around, and the survivors scream as tentacles lash out, stabbing people. The captain grabs him, pulls him away, and smashes through the creature with brute force. The monster crashes back, limbs flying. He keeps pounding, crushing it until it finally stops moving, twitching on the ground. Everyone is stunned. Someone whispers the captain just killed a monster. He demands to know where it came from. Survivors cheer, calling him a hero, while one man insists he always believed in him. Paran just watches, quiet and intense. The captain sweats, glaring. Nearby, a woman grins and says she's alive, just as a heavy metal hatch bangs open. The hatch creaks wider, drawing everyone's attention as they stare at the dark passage below. From the shadows, another grotesque creature crawls out, dragging itself across the floor and freezing everyone in fear. It rises up, towering over them with twisted limbs and glaring eyes, leaving the survivors paralyzed with terror. The hatch pops open, and everyone gathers below. Life in the bunker had been calm for a while, so people almost forgot what fear felt like. But when one person quietly backs away, tension thickens. Memories surge. Bloody survivors, scenes no one dares recall. They all wish they could forget the monsters tearing through soldiers, but those images stay burned in. Now, a grotesque beast with a single massive eye and jagged teeth claws its way up, reminding them why forgetting was never an option. The creature stomps in and panic erupts, screams, shoving, bodies crushed in the stampede. The captain shouts at everyone to fight back, his voice slicing through the chaos. Faces turn, torn between fleeing and standing their ground. Grabbing an axe, he declares this time will be different. There's only one monster, so if they stick together, they can win. Some remember he once defeated one of these things and begin to agree. There's nowhere left to run anyway. A rally builds. For the first time since everything began, they gather their courage and ask what to do next. But then blood drips from the captain's nose. His expression goes vacant. The crowd shifts uneasily as someone tries to reach him. He staggers forward. Then black tendrils tear free from his mouth and chest, twisting his body before their eyes. Gasps spread. The people recall he supposedly killed the monster earlier, but a woman cries out the truth. It's regenerating. Horror sets in. These things don't die. Now overtaken by tendrils, the captain smashes through walls, destruction exploding outward. Debris rains, blood splatters, people are torn apart. A girl shrieks as a beast grabs her, crushing others mid-scream. The creature lifts victims, squeezing until blood sprays, bodies piling into a grisly mound. The hallway becomes a slaughterhouse. Someone begs for help. Another shouts it's the end, convinced monsters will flood in any second. Biom seizes the babysitter, who panics because the little girl is still outside. He warns that if monsters broke through the station, she's likely gone. The realization crushes him. He collapses, reaching out in despair, while another survivor turns and walks away. Through the chaos, Paran sprints down the hall, eyes blazing. Baeom Hwang calls out as the others waver, some frozen, others chasing after him. Our boy pushes ahead. At the door, survivors see Biom lift a hand to halt him. Perrin steps forward, gaze sharp and glowing, raises his hand, and points straight ahead. Silence falls like a weight over the room. Inside, a body lies in a pool of blood near the sliding doors, while 3 kids huddle together in the room. One of them trembles, whispering how scared she is. Haru presses a finger to her lips, urging everyone to stay quiet and warning that any noise will get them caught. The youngest sniffles, terrified. Haru quietly apologizes, admitting she can't protect anyone right now. She explains that the chaos gave them a place to hide, but if anyone finds them, it's over. The little one grabs her sleeve, and for a moment Haru looks surprised, but then she meets Paran's eyes, lets the girl hold on, and tells her softly to stay close. Nearby, an injured man stares at the dead body, terrified, asking what they should do. Haru says they need to run. He panics, insisting there's nowhere to go, but she stammers that surviving is all that matters. Gathering her resolve, Haru says they can't just sit and wait to die. She's determined to make it. Seeing that resolve, the man mutters, she must have a strong reason to live. Suddenly, everyone freezes as a monster with a glowing red eye appears in the doorway. He panics, shouting for them to run, while the blonde clings tightly as the beast advances. The man rushes forward, slamming into the creature and locking on, telling the others to escape since he has nothing left to live for, but wants them to survive. Haru seizes the little girl and runs, her shout echoing back while the man keeps fighting, urging them not to forget his sacrifice. Out of nowhere, flames erupt as more survivors rush in, stabbing and smashing another monster. The blonde stops in shock as a woman drives her knife again and again into the creature, but it starts knitting itself back together. Someone screams it's regenerating. The woman curses and retreats, convinced they can't win, while Paran steps forward, silent. Others panic, demanding to know what he's doing, warning that fighting only gets people killed. Despite them, our boy charges in. The woman realizes he actually intends to fight, thinking he must have a death wish since even the captain couldn't beat one. The monster screeches and lunges, but Paran ducks low, seizes it, and yanks hard. Bones crack. He flips forward, leaps high, and lands crouched. Everyone stares in disbelief as he tears through the monster's tendrils with his bare hands. The beast thrashes, but our protagonist stays calm, ripping it apart piece by piece. Biom and the woman watch, stunned. She mutters it doesn't matter, since even the captain killed one before, but more horrors crawl from the shadows, roaring. Still, Paran stands firm, unfazed, locking eyes with them. As they charge, he bolts forward and smashes a giant one in the mouth with devastating force. Another lunges, but he springs up, slams down, grabs it, and rips it apart. Tendrils snap and scatter under his blows. Biom and the woman are sure he's finished, but Paran emerges untouched, surrounded by writhing limbs. Biom mutters in awe that the boy is still alive, and the woman can't even speak. Despite the monsters regenerating again and again, everyone watches as our boy holds his ground. He takes a deep breath, his father's words echoing. Every living thing has a source that gives it life. A glowing flower flashes in his memory, and his father's voice repeats, destroy the source. Once you find it, smash it. Perrin darts through the horde, eyes searching. He lunges at one, tears it open, and there it is. A glowing seed deep inside, the true source. Steeling himself, he drives his weapon straight in. A burst of energy erupts. Tendrils whip violently. The monster convulses as he pushes harder. Breathing raggedly, Perrin stands over the wreckage, the shattered seed glowing faintly at his feet. The survivors stand in shock, staring down the hallway. One whispers that the monster is really gone, while Biom watches a blood-soaked figure move past the wreckage. Haru pulls another girl along the corridor when a loud boom rattles the bunker. She shouts that something is coming, and their footsteps echo frantically as they break into a run. Racing around a corner, Haru suddenly comes face to face with a massive creature charging straight at her. She tries to leap aside but slips and crashes to the floor. The monster locks its glowing eye on her. She glances back, hearing those heavy steps pounding closer. Then, without warning, a swirling void rips open before her, pulling her vision into darkness. Shadows twist and churn as a strike slices past. From behind, Bayom gasps, barely able to form words. Haru stumbles back into the group, alive, untouched. Relief floods the room, but she stands there shaking, mumbling in shock. Then someone yells about the missing little girl. Haru jumps, blurting out too much, and in doing so accidentally reveals where Paran is. The group collapses into tears, the babysitter sobbing, desperate to know if the child is safe. At that moment, a pair of tiny shoes appears in the doorway. Everyone freezes. The little girl steps forward, her dress bloodied and torn, and behind her rises a hideous creature with a glowing red eye. Panic sweeps the room. Someone charges forward, screaming, while the child trembles under the monster's shadow. Before it can strike, Chickencomb suddenly appears. He slides Perrin aside, squares up to the beast, and warns it to back off or he'll go for its eyes. The creature halts, then slowly retreats as the enforcer orders it to stay put. He isn't sure if it left from fear, so he strains his ears, listening for movement. Biom explains they're only safe because of what's happening outside. Out there, our boy slams a monster into the ground, muttering that's 2 down, but more are already closing in. Another lunges, swinging hard, and he braces. 3 more circle around. Perrin thinks if there weren't so many, he could clear the area and make it safe, but now survival is all he can aim for. With nowhere to hide, he knows a single mistake could end him, and worse, more creatures might appear at any second. Exhausted, our protagonist considers breaking away to find another shelter, but the thought hits him. If he leaves, everyone inside will die. He wonders why that should matter, but then remembers the girl who was stabbed, and her final words. Distracted, he drops his guard. A monster slashes across him, blood spraying as he crumples. Clutching his wound, he lifts his gaze as a shadow looms over him. Chickencomb is there. The fighter tells him the others have explained everything, and that he knows Paran can kill these creatures. He asks how he can help. The babysitter snatches up his shield, ready to dive in, while the little girl watches in silence. Perrin mutters under his breath, still not sure why these people insist on helping him. Chickencomb just shrugs, as if it's obvious. They all want to survive. The babysitter adds that if our boy goes down, none of them stand a chance, so backing him up is the only option. He extends his hand. Paran hesitates, then nods, telling them to create a distraction. He figures betrayal isn't likely when survival is the only thing keeping them together. A monster charges, and both Chickencomb and the babysitter move in to block, giving our protagonist a narrow opening despite his injuries. Chickencomb jeers at the beast, just the distraction Paran needs. He darts forward, strikes his first target, and cracks open the monster's glowing core, which pulses with wild energy. The creature fires beams of light, forcing him to weave and duck, but he doesn't give ground. Pushing through the onslaught, he grabs hold and spins it until the core is completely exposed. He shouts he's finally found the weak spot. Lunging in, he misses. Just as the monster begins charging a devastating blast, the beam fires, but the babysitter throws up his shield, straining to hold it back. That moment is enough. Paran regains his focus, drives his strike into the core, and smashes it apart. The beast collapses. Biom admits he'd only slow everyone down, and the red-haired girl agrees, especially with corpses twitching around them. Someone yells at a nearby monster, shouting that the captain is dead. The babysitter glances back to check on Paran, but he simply points to the shattered core at his feet. Chickencomb demands a lesson, so our boy explains, every monster has a weak spot. You just have to find it. Another survivor mutters that only he can actually see them, so the rest should stick to distracting. Chickencomb refuses to stand aside and hurls himself back into the fray, while Paran admits it's far easier to fight with backup. The bruiser gets slammed hard as Paran carves through another creature. Then he stops cold, sensing one more presence. Across the room, a survivor is ensnared, tendrils pinning her to the ground, just as Haru and the others arrive and see her struggling. The monster crackles and twists, its form warping into something even worse. On the ground, a bloody hand twitches before falling still as the transformation completes. Nearby, a corpse jerks, and a shadowy figure with mangled limbs crawls free, looming over Haru and another survivor. She pulls herself together as its jaws snap inches from her face, barely missing. The creature lunges again, only to be cut down as Perrin steps in, striking it dead at the last moment. Haru stares in awe as our boy lands heavily, bleeding and exhausted, but still gripping the monster's glowing core, eyes fixed on its light. Biom rushes to him, insisting he needs treatment right away, and others scramble to help. Later, Paran wakes bandaged, Haru sitting close by, Biom exhaling in relief. Without hesitation, our protagonist tears off the wrappings. His wounds are gone, fully healed. Biom grabs his arm, stunned. Paran asks if the other fighter made it, and a familiar voice answers, alive. Chickencomb grins, bragging about his toughness. He shrugs, saying he helped because he wanted to, even if someone mutters he looks like one of the bad guys. The enforcer only laughs, insisting he doesn't take orders from anyone. Haru yawns as another voice comments how shady he looks, but Chickencomb just smirks, saying appearances don't matter. It's his style. Paran turns to Haru, asking why she's still around when she isn't even hurt. She snaps back, demanding what he'll do about it, then admits she was worried. Biom interrupts, reminding Paran that Haru stayed to help with his wounds. She yells she only did it because Biom needed her. Then Chickencomb cuts in, saying he remembers her from before, and surprisingly praises her speed during the fight. He describes how she dodged monsters like it was nothing, moving like the wind. Haru stiffens, clearly unsettled, and turns away as he steps closer. Perrin quietly watches her walk off, remembering the stabbed woman's words, that he should at least try to make peace. Our boy calls out her name. He asks if that's really it, and without turning, she softly confirms. Later, during a meeting, a man with glasses addresses the group. Only 12 survivors remain out of 43. He corrects himself, saying that's about 78% lost. He explains that many bodies were found gray and shriveled, like mummies. A woman says the monsters drained them, then wonders aloud if there's some kind of government experiment. She mentions rumors, while others insist they fell from the sky. Someone throws out aliens, but another silences him, reminding them bigger issues remain. All eyes shift to Perrin. They demand to know how he fights like that, how he knew how to kill the monsters. With Haru watching, our boy answers simply, he's been training and preparing for the apocalypse since the day he was born. Paran holds up the photo, saying it's the only thing he took from the bunker, but the woman stays skeptical. She thinks he could be lying and demands more proof, doubting his story about living underground and knowing the apocalypse was coming. To her, one photo isn't enough. Still, she admits he's a skilled fighter, and the others start leaning toward believing in his strength. Suddenly, a survivor lunges at him, but our boy dodges effortlessly. The attacker panics, apologizes, and quickly claims he now believes the bunker story. Biom steps in, saying he's convinced too, especially after treating all of Paran's scars. Thinking back on everything the kid has endured, Biom points out that no one their age could have survived so much. That makes Haru curious, so she asks about the scars. Perrin explains he earned them every time he tried to escape the bunker, calling them proof he never gave up. He says he doesn't see them as painful memories. Another man asks why he didn't warn people about the apocalypse. Our protagonist recalls something his dad once said, admitting he believed his father never planned to warn anyone. He confesses he doesn't exactly trust people, but adds the group has helped him, and now he's starting to question whether all humans are as bad as his father claimed. A survivor tells him he's important because he's the only one who knows how to kill the monsters. Chickencomb suggests that finding his mom might help them understand the creatures. Another warns they've only survived thanks to luck and the blocked entrance hiding them, saying the collapsed path is their only shield. If monsters break through, they're finished. The only way out is squeezing through a single gap in the debris. Despite the warnings, they head to storage but find it buried under rubble. Panic spreads, since that was their food supply. A cold voice cuts in, saying it's no longer food storage. Biom says they need a team to search for food and asks for volunteers. Chickencomb immediately raises his hand, saying he needs fresh air, but someone points out he's still injured. He insists he can go, but Biom refuses, saying he has to recover. Others add that going above is suicide. Even a cloaked figure agrees. Biom looks troubled. There's only enough food for a week. Paran steps forward, calm and firm, saying he'll go. Biom is grateful, but our boy says he wanted to anyway. He hopes to find other survivors, someone who recognizes the photo, or maybe even a safer base. 2 more survivors volunteer, including a girl about his age. She admits Paran risked his life for everyone, while she would have just run away. When someone calls for Haru, she doesn't respond, clearly rattled. Paran notices her hesitation and asks what's wrong. The room grows awkward, people instead wondering aloud if he really plans to go outside without a shirt. A woman hands him one she sewed while he slept. He asks about it, and she explains she used to be a designer with lines of people waiting for her clothes, back when society still existed. Paran remembers reading about people wearing different styles and how he used to ask his father why he always gave him the same outfit. He always wanted something new. His father would laugh and say he wore the same thing too. Our protagonist admits his dream was to try new clothes above ground. He thanks her sincerely. Just then, Haru finally speaks, saying she wants to ask him something as he slides on his pants. He looks up and asks what it is. Haru stands frozen in front of Paran while the other survivors whisper among themselves, hardly believing what they're seeing. Flustered, she suddenly yells at him, calls him a pervert, and swings. Our boy dodges, baffled, and tries to ask why she's attacking, but Haru slips mid-swing and crashes to the ground. She refuses to get up, just lying there. Paran, still clueless, approaches until someone in the group mutters something about a scar, making her lower her head. He tells her to stand, but Haru snaps back, demanding he put on clothes first. He sighs, agrees, gets dressed, and then wonders aloud how the monsters even appeared. The survivors speculate that the fire may have drawn them in, noticing traces of cooking. The red-haired girl excitedly snatches a lighter, but Paran quickly warns that fire attracts monsters. She freezes, panic spreading as the group realizes what that means. Haru stares at the lighter until the girl nervously hands it over, and she grips it tight, backing away. A boy suddenly recognizes Haru, calling her the track star from Gasong Middle School, saying he spotted her scar right away. He claims it looks cool, though Haru privately feels otherwise. To her, the scar is nothing but proof of fear and cowardice, never something to admire. Her mind drifts back to classmates laughing, to how she always felt weak. Flashback. Her first day at middle school, nervous, clutching her bag, while her parents wish her luck and urge her to study hard. Her brother cheers, her new classmates whisper curiously, and her parents watch with worry. Her father quietly wonders if she'll be okay, remembering how cheerful she used to be. Her mother mentions how anxious she's been since the incident, how much she struggles every day. Memory sharpens. Young Haru, cornered by a shadowy man who grabs her and raises a knife as her parents scream. She bites him, breaks free, but collapses. Trembling, she stares up as blood sprays when the blade slashes her. Her father rushes in, her mother cries out, her vision fades. She wakes in a hospital bed screaming, her parents clutching her, assuring her she's safe and that the man was arrested. But even as they hug her, she keeps shaking, staring at her bandaged scar, still terrified. At school, Haru sits quietly while classmates chat about scary experiences. She gazes out the window and sees shadows, hallucinations of the man. A girl asks what frightens her most. Another repeats the question. Haru hesitates, unable to answer. Later, she admits she fears dying. The room falls silent until the girl clarifies she meant horror movies. Track practice. The coach calls her up. Since the scar, she never stops feeling hunted, always sensing someone right behind her. At the signal, she runs, each step haunted by memory, fear driving her legs. She stumbles but pushes on. She sees herself as a coward, but then the coach calls out. She's broken another record. Teammates cheer. The coach praises her, saying she could be a star, amazed she's been breaking records after only 2 years. Reporters gather to meet the girl with the scar. Nervous, Haru greets them. They ask for a photo, encourage her. One even calls himself a fan and puts a hand on her shoulder. She flinches. He pulls back, scoffing, calling her weird, insisting he meant no harm. The coach tries to defend her, but the man mutters, she's just jumpy, a nervous wreck. Haru says nothing. Dinner that night. Her father scrolls on his phone, earning a scolding from her mother. He laughs, apologizes, and asks about the reporter. Her brother marvels at her speed. Her father says he can't wait to see her on TV. He admits her running talent blossomed after the incident. Haru realizes each time she runs, the memories return. It's ironic. She started running to stop being a coward, but nothing really changed. She grabs her uniform and heads out. Her father reassures her that fear doesn't make her abnormal. She protests, believing her fear makes her unworthy. He hugs her, insists she doesn't need to hide, and tells her the scar is proof of bravery, that her family loves her no matter what. Haru cries, remembering how much the coward label hurt, how desperately she tried to change, not realizing what truly mattered. She recalls her family embracing her, her father's voice reminding her she isn't broken, that it's okay to be afraid. He holds out his pinky, asking her to promise not to cry even when she's scared. Haru agrees, determined. Just as they prepare to leave together, disaster strikes. Something crashes through the building, debris rains down, her father looks stunned, and the family rushes out into a shattered city. The massive stone giant appears just as Haru's dad collapses, struggling to rise again. He catches her gaze as she calls out to him. Stumbling, he warns her not to come closer when she rushes toward him, worried about his wound. Haru freezes, torn, eyes brimming with tears. He tells her she could still escape if she wants to. Determined, he insists he'll look after Mom and Soil, but she refuses to leave. Screaming, she cries that she could never abandon him, that he means everything to her now. She swears she can't run, promising she'd never forgive herself if she did, and breaks down, eyes locked on her father's back as he shields her from the oncoming monsters. Suddenly, light bursts around him and everything fades. Now Haru is racing through darkness, her father's words echoing. It's okay to be scared. Nothing's wrong with you for feeling that way. Still, she refuses to accept it. She pushes herself harder, remembering his kindness but admitting she always kept running away. Clenching her fists, she promises herself she's done running. Standing before Paran, she declares she's coming too, that she'll never run away again. Monsters prowl the rooftops as survivors edge into the city. The group sneaks past a lurking beast. It roars, but they duck behind cover and slip away. One survivor exhales in relief, another cracks a nervous joke, and our boy assures them it's safe. Haru hears someone ask about the map. Paran holds up a piece of paper, and she watches him explain they need to make one. When she repeats his words, his tone hardens. A map is as vital as food. Haru offers to help since she knows the area, but falters, realizing the city is unrecognizable now. They gather supplies, but far less than expected. Perrin points out most of the food has spoiled. A bespectacled survivor suggests eating the perishables first. Haru hesitates, saying they should wait until they're back at base, but the other insists the food will rot soon, and they risked their lives getting it. Better to eat now. Another argues that people are waiting back at base, but our protagonist tries a piece and says it's good. He remarks that bunker meals were just bland nutrients, and this tastes incredible by comparison. Haru teases him for not even knowing what bread was before, and he scowls. He hands her some food, reminding her of their earlier deal, saying now they're even. Paran warns everyone they must stay hidden or risk being forced to fight. He can handle monsters, but noise will draw a horde. Silence is survival. Suddenly, he halts as a creature drops down between the towers above. His voice sharpens. They must not let the monsters discover them. Paran warns everyone not to let the monsters catch on. Haru and the others freeze. He tells them that if they're discovered, their only chance is to split up and run. Gripping Haru's shoulder, our boy reassures her that the creature hasn't noticed them yet. Someone whispers a question, but before they get an answer, Paran hurls a can, and the metallic clang echoes. The monster reacts instantly, proving it's drawn by sound. He calms the group, signals for silence, and explains that fighting recklessly will only attract more of them. They need to end the threat in a single blow. His mind flashes back to the basement. Someone had handed him a weapon there, admitting he'd never go above ground himself but wanted to help. The weapon had been designed specifically for Paran's fighting style, crafted to pierce the monster's weak points. Our protagonist grips it now and charges forward, driving the weapon deep into the creature's core. As he looks down at the weapon, his dad's voice echoes. Don't rely on weapons. Surviving up here means fighting with your bare hands. His father had always insisted humans shouldn't use tools in battle, promising it would make sense someday. Perrin doubts that. How could anyone face monsters like this barehanded? He realizes his dad never once mentioned monsters in the bunker, maybe because he thought his son wouldn't believe him. Paran admits he never believed in the apocalypse until now. Memories return, Endless drills in the bunker, training for monster attacks. If his father never wanted him to leave, why prepare him so rigorously? Maybe he hadn't intended to trap him forever. He recalls one truth. His dad never lied, except about Mom's death. Could all that training have been for a day like this? His thoughts rewind to when it all began. The apocalypse's first day. He remembers the locks undone, his dad opening every door. If he hadn't escaped then, the monsters would have ripped him apart. Now he wonders, why had the monsters targeted their bunker, and how had his dad known what was coming? Nearby, the bespectacled survivor kneels by the fallen monster, which curls into a ball after being struck in its core. He mutters that they couldn't break it, then tosses it to a girl, who flings it aside. Paran watches as it arcs through the air and lands near him. He picks it up, noticing strange shifting patterns across its surface. The sphere hums in his hand. Glasses guy asks what's happening, but our boy doesn't reply. He squeezes and cracks spread, fragments breaking away. His eyes flick to Haru, awake now, thinking of the time she ran off alone. She silently promises herself never to do that again, that she'll apologize to that kid when she gets the chance. Paran remembers his dad before the world soured, when he handed him a book from home, calling it the story of a hero. The boy's eyes open again, and Haru leans over him. Haru tumbles over Paran and clamps a hand over his mouth. He tries to speak, but she won't let him. Looking up at her, our boy grumbles that she's heavy and tells her to get off. Haru snaps back that she isn't, while he mutters for her to calm down and calls her a scaredy cat. She scans the city with binoculars, spotting monsters in the distance. Checking a map, Haru focuses, but Paran walks over and asks how it's going, casually calling her human, which irritates her. Later, when someone asks his name, Paran admits he hasn't had one since he was a child. Jihyun insists he needs one, and Yujin wants to pick one right away, but he just stands there, uncertain. Mumbling about getting a name, he looks unsure until Haru offers one. He declines, then thinks of his dad, lowers his head, and softly says Paran. The others react with surprise. Haru repeats the name and he nods. She asks what it means, and our protagonist explains it's from a book he read as a child. Yujin suggests everyone introduce themselves. Jihyun goes first, then Yujin, then Haru, who jokes Paran won't remember anyway. He hesitates, tries to say his new name, and then, steadier this time, introduces himself as Paran. The group echoes his name, and he repeats it again as memories swell. He sees the underground bunker and recalls dreaming of reaching the surface, meeting people, telling them his name. He always wanted to know others' names, to talk with them. In that moment, Haru, Jihyun, and Yujin smile at him. Jihyun offers a hand, asking to be friends. Paran pulls back. Blood, screams, and the apocalypse flash in his head. He withdraws,